Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a video on my thoughts on James Corden being in series 13 of Doctor Who. Yeah, I heard this announcement and I was a bit like, like, I'm not angry, I'm just more like disappointed, you know, like a father who's disappointed with a child. You know, I don't really get it. I don't see why they're doing it. That other than maybe a bit more representation from the Stephen Moffat era. But even then, I mean, the big main character that when I say Stephen Moffat era Doctor Who, that springs to most people's minds is more than likely going to be Professor Riversong, not James Corden. Although, like Batman March and or Billy from the Review of Death pointed out, Billy Garrett John and Matthew Toffolo from the Review of Death over at Batman March, the YouTube channel, they pointed out that like if she ever does come back in the sort of Chris Chibnall era, like they were like either they don't want it, or if it does happen that it's like it's too difficult because she is such a timey-wimey sort of specific character to that era and all across Doctor Who that it's just too much. There's too much baggage there basically. And I can kind of see what they mean, and I mean, she already has her own audio drama box sets with Big Finish. She already has, which already sometimes feature, you know, the 5th, 4th, or as featured, yeah, the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and maybe even an 8th Doctor, you know, so, which you could argue just basically to prop up and get more people who probably are Big Finish fans who mainly only buy the older stuff or the stuff featuring older Doctors to then buy the River Song stuff and that, and if people who like River Song were a bit on the fence, then it is an incentive for them as well, because there's a Doctor there as well, you know, but like in those ones, then you have to do loads of like jumping over hoops of like, oh well, she said in this episode in a Tennant one, he's the oldest one she's ever met, so, and she hasn't been further, so then back in time, so then they have to do lots of like, you know, nitty gritty stuff. But anyway, I digress. I went on a massive tangent. The only other character I could think of maybe during the sort of in the past, sort of maybe Ingrid, maybe Osgood. The other two that sprung to mind were Bill. I would have loved for Pearl Mackie to be at this panel, because the reason why they announced it was because BBC are doing a panel, or New York Comic Con are doing a panel on the 25th of July. So a lot of fans are theorising that there might be a teaser trailer, not like a full-on 5-10 minute trailer. Those days are long gone for Doctor Who ever giving us that much content leading up to a series, I think. A teaser trailer maybe being like a minute, 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes tops, 3 minutes if we're lucky. You know, it's kind of mad, like Ace Creeper, the YouTuber pointed out, it's kind of mad to think like this will be the first proper big Comic-Con thing since 2018 with Jodie, the first time Chris Chibnall, Mandip Gill and Matt Stevens were all there, and then they revealed the Sonic Screwdriver as well there, as well as a trailer for Series 11 I think there. So it was a big, like, here's the new show, big, for lack of a better term, blowout event, you know, and then sort of 2019 and 2020 have been a lot more quieter with Series 30, with like the newer series, or the Whittaker series and episodes and stuff, and so, yeah, I mean, or maybe even John Bishop as Dan. We've never seen, he's been on the One Show, I think that's the only interview he's done since he was announced and cast as Dan, that's it. Bradley Walsh very rarely ever appeared either in stuff to do with Doctor Who, which is weird because he's not in it anymore. much like Ace Creeper, I thought maybe it would be either Joe Martin. The announcement, the special guest would be Joe Martin as the Ruth Doctor, or maybe Sacha Dhawan as the Master. Maybe because it was quite obvious that he more than likely got escaped at the end of Timeless Children, whatever. And then he and also pointed out that like it's 50 years of the Master. Why wouldn't we be celebrating that? Or like for example, you could have brought back Missy or John Sim or something as the Master. Have like a multi-Master story again. Have like Dewan alongside Missy, and she could be all like, "Wait, I thought we turned good. I thought I was good. I thought I was this close to being good, And he's like, "No, you weren't. You effing and jeffing person." Obviously not like that, but you know what I mean. And then also, for me, Pearl Mackie, as I said earlier, would have been a brilliant guest. Because I could just see her actually working really well in this era. She's a character who is a lesbian, but also is doesn't have her mother anymore. So she's there's the foster mother sort of thing. So there's quite a few different layers and dynamics, and she just felt really fresh and different and new. And that she's someone of color. She's as I said, part of the LGBTQ community sort of thing because she's gay, and that, but she's also black and that, and a woman, but she was just a well written, nice, down to earth, grounded. She felt the closest, I'll be honest, in the Moffat era to a really well written Russell T Davies companion, in my humble opinion. She wasn't the girl who waited, or the magic woman who did a thing, or shot out a sword and fought 1,000 dinosaurs to talk to the Doctor, or whatever the fuck Clara was. She just felt like a normal person, but really interesting at the same time. Does that make sense? And the only other person that I could think of was maybe Freema Agyeman as Martha. That would have been great. A lot of people were theorising from the Russell T Davies era that maybe Catherine Tate would be coming back and that she would be the guest star at this Comic-Con panel. But as I pointed out to my mum, like, logistically, how would that work? Because where we left off in the context of the show, that just wouldn't work, She's not meant to remember the Doctor, and if she does, her head explodes or whatever, So it's like Russell locked that character into that era, maybe for that reason, She just doesn't remember, she doesn't remember the Doctor, so like, how would it work? Like, Whittaker would know her, but she wouldn't know her, because also him is now a her, and do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to think about it, rationalise this, and it just, even now, just trying to rationalise it on my own time, in my own time, it's just like, it doesn't stack up, it doesn't really make much sense logistically. James Corden, as I said before, right at the beginning, I'm not annoyed, I'm more just disappointed and a bit like, and I also just logistically don't get why him, he's not the biggest character in Doctor Who, so I guess that makes sense, but like, also, he's not the biggest character in Doctor Who. Like, why market / hype it on the Twitter being like, oh, there's a new special guest, drum roll, it's James Corden. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, The Lodger, I guess, is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. It's okay. It's not top tier part of Series 5 in my humble opinion. I think it's actually bottom of the barrel of that series. I think it's a case of it's sandwiched between probably two better stories from what I remember of Series 5. If it was in another series, maybe in Series 6 or maybe in Series, I don't know, like 9, or just placed somewhere else in Series 5, it might do better in my humble opinion. I don't like James Corden as an actor, if he even is an actor. He's just sort of not really, I don't know. Closing time is just a bit of fluff again. Weird that they've chosen a character who I don't know if was made by Stephen Moffat or if it was more created by Gareth Roberts, and if so, that makes no sense to me, because, like, isn't he, like, supposed to be rather controversial because he's a bit of an not nice person towards transgender people, and saying that that isn't a thing, and that, you know, because I remember a while back he was meant to do some books, Doctor Who books for BBC Books, and then got sort of taken out of that project, or, you know, sort of fired from that project essentially, and that's what I heard. And so, like, yeah, like if this predominantly is one of his characters, just seems so weird to be taking a character who is associated with someone who predominantly is considered by quite a few other fans as a bigot. You know, I've never met the guy, so I can't really comment. I'm not commenting on that. I'm not saying he is a bigot. I'm just saying, like, other people consider him and come across. I've seen things on social media that, you know, some people really, really don't like him, which, you know, you do you, which is fair enough, you know, and that, and yeah, I mean, the last Gareth Roberts episode was in Series 8, and that, and the last, bloody hell, closing time was, like, nearly this year, would be, like, 10 years ago, which is insane. So it's been a long time since James Corden has been in Doctor Who, and he was only ever in Smith-era Doctor Who stuff. I'm surprised he never popped up in the, in Series 7, considering that was Matt's last series. I wonder if Moffat, if he'd known that retroactively, if he'd have then included James Corden to make, like, a weird James Corden / Craig sort of trilogy almost through Matt's era. That would have been nice, I think, given it a bit more cohesion, because he is just sort of randomly in sort of 2 episodes. It's just, you know, I genuinely would prefer someone like Frank Skinner's character, Perkins. I would have preferred him to come back, or the guy who played Rigsy in Flatline and Face Raven. Either of those 2 characters from the Capaldi era would have been brilliant, in my opinion, you know. I think they're just hesitant to duel with sort of more sort of Capaldi / you know, lore heavy sort of characters, or not even lore heavy, but with the Capaldi stuff, I guess it makes sense because, one, the viewing figures went down quite a bit, but also it's more recent, so it's like it only happened literally like 3, 4, 5 years ago. It's not 10 to, you know, 13 years ago sort of stuff, you know, which might explain why there's not as many references to the Stephen Moffat stuff era, just generally in the Jodie Whittaker era, you know. But it's mainly just the sort of RTD era. Maybe by the time that we get to a insert Chris Chibnall's successor name here, person, that maybe they do more references to the Moffat era, because by that point in the next 2-3 years, let's say, you know, after the 60th, then the sort of Moffat era will be a bit older, you know, and that the Smith and even some of the early to mid Capaldi stuff. So yeah, I'd really be interested to know what other people's thoughts are on James Corden coming back to Doctor Who, the world of Doctor Who. Are you excited about it? Are you interested in it? I mean, it will probably get people like my dad, who doesn't watch Doctor Who, to be interested in Doctor Who, maybe, or just sort of be interested in terms of just sort of being like, oh, did you know that this person's coming into the show? I don't watch it, but, like, this big name person in pop culture's in it, you know, like he kind of was with John Bishop. He was like, oh, did you know that John Bishop's in the show, to, like, my mum and me, and predominantly my mum, but, like, my mum watches it, Doctor Who, with me, and she knew, and then she's like, well, that's like, your son is the Doctor Who aficionado, you could talk to him about it. But anyway, yeah, there are a lot of other people I'd have preferred to see than, as I say, Bernard Cribbins, he would have been great. That would have been great. Oh my god, could you imagine? Female Doctor, really old sort of grandfatherly like character in Doctor Who isn't the Doctor, but, like, the soulful positivity of Jodie, like, they would have been great, I think. and that, and also we don't really have an older sort of character in Doctor Who at the moment, I don't think. I mean, maybe John Bishop, but he's more middle-aged than he is old, and that, in my humble opinion. But yeah, yeah, anyway, I'll stop rambling. Thanks for watching. Please do comment, rate, and subscribe.